With the Lands Vacant update, the Conqueror's Challenge was introduced in Albion Online, which is a new feature that revolves around might and favor. The Conqueror's Challenge takes place along the recurring Albion seasons, which is a period of about 90 days for a regular season. During this time, players can now grind for individual rewards through the Conqueror's Challenge. There are both seasonal and weekly rewards you can obtain by meeting the might requirements throughout a given season. And there are also rewards you can buy at any time by spending your favor. As for might and favor, these are earned by completing selected activities within the lethal areas of the game. In this guide, I will go over everything you need to know about this new system, along with all the different activities where you can earn might, with the complete details for each activity. A big thanks to the fleet and for Candin for providing the necessary data to make this guide happen. Let's start off by taking a look at the rewards you are grinding for. The weekly rewards consist of favor milestones and a Grand Conqueror's chest. From this chest you will get a base amount of items such as fame, silver bags, resources, siphoned energy, and a new artifact resource that acts as a wildcard when crafting artifact items. Every grand chest is guaranteed to have one of these new artifact resources, but the tier and type you will receive will be fully random. Depending on your luck, you can also get one of the rare mount cups as a drop from the Grand Conqueror's chest, among which the very expensive mammoth calf. To receive the Grand Conqueror's chest, you have to earn a total of 20k might in a given week, which comes down to about 3k might per day, which is very doable. In fact, you can even get the entire 20k might with just a single objective, as you will learn later in this video. The weekly rewards are available every week, so even if it's off season, you will still be able to get your Grand Conqueror's chest as long as you earn enough might during that week. If you are playing Albion actively, I think it's highly worth completing the weekly challenge every single week, as the Grand Conqueror's chest makes for great rewards by default, and depending on your luck, you just might get very rare or valuable drops as well. In addition to the short-term weekly rewards, there are also very valuable and unique long-term season rewards. You can already see what these are in the Conqueror's Challenge, along with how much might you need for a specific reward. The season rewards include battle mounts and fame boosts, which can be upgraded to higher rarities as you advance, and you will also unlock multiple avatar portraits with further progress. Once again, just like the weekly rewards, the season rewards have enormous value. Aside from the cool vanity and expensive battle mount you can obtain, the 10% boost to combat and gathering fame has tremendous value, as the buff will last for a total of 90 days. Or in other words, it will last for the entirety of the next season, which will make the next season even easier for you. A final wave of rewards that can be obtained through this new system is through favor. Favor is earned alongside might in certain activities and has its own shop with its own rewards within the game. The shop can be found at Matina, which is the energy manipulator NPC. Currently you can spend your favor on siphoned energy, Elder's Tome of Insight, and the Conqueror's chest. Now this chest is different from the weekly Grand Conqueror's chest. This is a smaller, more regular version of it with lower rewards. Nonetheless, you can get very rare drops from this chest as well, albeit with lower drop rates. So for example, you still have a chance to get the very rare and expensive mammoth calf from the regular chest, just like the grand chest. And just like the grand chest, the regular chest also contains a base amount of items such as fame, silver, and siphoned energy. If you want to learn more about the mammoth calves from the Conqueror's chest, I have an entire video dedicated to that. So if you want to check it out, you can find the link in the pinned comments below. I think that if you strictly want fame, you're best off buying the Elder's Tome of Insight with your favor, and if you want a combination of fame, silver, and RNG where you can get high value drops, you want to go for the chests. You can participate in all of this and get all the rewards even if you're not in a guild, but being in a guild does come with its benefits. Based on your guild's bracket, you receive bonus might and favor, which is a bonus of 10% for iron, 20% for bronze, 30% for silver, 40% for gold, and a whopping 50% for crystal. As you benefit from the bonus might and favor your guild provides based on the bracket it's in, your guild also benefits from you through might levels, which makes for season points. All the might earned by the members of a guild throughout different activities will advance the guild's might levels in their respective categories. Each time a new level is reached, the guild will be awarded with season points, which advances the guild even further into higher brackets. And every time the guild reaches a new bracket, aside from getting even more bonus might and favor, you also get a payout of might that's applied to your own season progress. So being in a guild has huge benefits for you as an individual, while simultaneously benefiting the guild and all its members. So what about all the different ways to earn might and their payouts? One way to earn might is by gathering in the Outlands and Roads of Avalon. Since gathering is a solo activity, you can earn might through gathering whenever you want. The amount of might you get from gathering depends on the amount of fame you get whilst you gather. So the more valuable resources you gather, the more fame you get, and with that, the more might. Which also means the better you're equipped for gathering and the higher levels you have in whatever you gather, the higher your gathering yield will be and the more resources you will gather, which leads to even more fame gained through gathering, which by now should be clear means even more might. Aside from using pork pies and gathering gear to increase your gathering yield, you can also increase the overall fame gain from gathering by having your hideout buff active, which makes up to 10% more fame for an hour, and you will get an additional 10% fame if you have an Eldest Knight's Vow running. And if you have a premium subscription, you will of course get another 50% to gathering yield and fame, which makes for a tremendous amount of extra might. You're already earning lots of money when gathering, also earning might and favor is just a big bonus that adds even more reason to gather within the Outlands or Roads of Avalon. I would say see might as something extra as you go about gathering, and don't gather for the sake of farming might, as gathering probably makes for the least amount of might per hour. What type of nodes you will gather and the amount of resources is too uncertain, as it fully depends on the interactive world of Albion. One great way to earn might is through PvE. Basically any mobs you kill in the Outlands or Roads of Avalon will give you might. The amount of might you get from the PvE is dependent on the amount of fame you get for killing a target. So higher tier mobs will make for more fame and with that for more might, which makes PvE a great source of might for anyone. Whether you are hunting roaming mobs on your own, doing static dungeons with a group, or simply killing mobs to gather them, you will get might for all of it. To increase the amount of might you get from PvE, you want to have as many fame bonuses as possible. These are the Hideout buff, which makes up to 10% more fame for an hour, the Avalonian raid buff, which makes for 10% more fame for a week, and the Knight's Vow, which can make for another 10% for 90 days. If you have all these buffs active, you will have an additional 30% more fame, which translates to more might and favor. Ultimately, having a premium subscription active will make for an additional 50% fame gain in PvE as well. I think you should see the might gained from PvE in the Outlands and Roads of Avalon as an extra reward for doing the content. Although you can grind a few thousand might per hour by solely doing PvE content, I believe long term it's an ineffective way of grinding might. Nonetheless, it is one of the better options if you want to grind might on your own. And if you are an active player, towards the end of the season, you will most likely notice you made quite some might from PvE content. The amount of might gained from the corrupted dungeons is based on whether you do the Stalker or Slayer levels. Since the Hunter level is non-lethal, it doesn't provide any might. The base might for Stalker level corrupted dungeons is 124, so whenever you succeed in killing your opponent in the Stalker level, that's the minimum amount of might you will gain. And based on what bracket your guild is, you will get additional might on top of that. So if your guild is Iron, you will get 10% more, which takes the total might to 136. And if your guild is Crystal, you will get 50% more, which takes the total might gained to 186. The values shown are without Premium, and Premium makes for an additional 50% might after the guild bracket has been included. So if your guild is Crystal and you have Premium running, you will get 278 might instead of 186. The base might for Slayer level corrupted dungeons is slightly higher than Stalker, where Stalker's base is 124, that of Slayer is 151. Once again, the guild brackets affect the amount of might here as well, where Iron bumps this up to 166 and Crystal bumps it up to 226. If you're in a guild that's Crystal, and you have premium running, you will get 339 might from successfully killing your opponents in the Slayer level, which is the highest amount of might you can get for doing corrupted dungeons. Unlike Gathering and PvE, the amount of might you get from corrupted dungeons is not linked to the amount of fame. Instead, as you have learned, there is a base amount of might for this content that gets multiplied by the rank of your guild and then once again by your premium subscription. As for the PvE in corrupted dungeons, that does not make for any might, it's strictly PvP kills. The amount of might you will get from corrupted dungeons on an hourly basis will vary greatly from player to player, as it depends on how many dungeons you chain back to back and how many you win. So if you are in a guild that's silver, you have premium running and you win 3 Slayer matches in an hour, which sounds pretty realistic to me, you will get about 900 might per hour. The takeaway regarding might from corrupted dungeons is that it's just an extra reward, just like Gathering. If you want to farm might to reach certain milestones, corrupted dungeons is not the way to go about it. Getting some might for winning your matches whenever you do them is just a nice bonus. If you want a solo activity to grind might, farming roaming mobs in the open world will make for much more might per hour compared to corrupted dungeons. Siphoning Mages is an activity many guilds constantly do during the seasons because it makes for a lot of season points. A while ago, the amount of fame the Siphoned Mages make for was buffed as well to reward the individual players that do this activity to help their guilds. And now, the Siphoned Mages also make for might, so you have even more reason to do them. The amount of might you get for doing Siphoning Mages has its own formula, and to calculate how much might you can expect from a single mage, you first have to look at the maximum amount of daily season points a specific territory can generate, and this is a value that differs from territory to territory. A single mage is worth about 2.8 might per maximum daily season points of a given territory. After this, your guild's bracket bonus and premium are added on top of that. To give you an example, I will show you footage from our guild doing mages in Dry Basin Riverbed. The maximum daily season points this territory can generate is 540. We are killing the mages with a party of 16 players in here, and I end up getting 185 might for a single mage kill. 28 of this is from the 30% bonus from our guild bracket since we are silver, and 61 of this is the 50% from premium, which means the base might for this mage kill was 96. Each one of our 16 party members got 96 base points from this mage. So this specific mage's total might worth was 1536. If we now divide this by the maximum daily season points the territory makes for, we come down to 2.84. So as said prior, about 2.8 might per maximum daily season points of a given territory before calculating any bonuses such as guild bracket and premium. To confirm this, I will show you another raid example. The territory in Wetgrave Marsh makes for a maximum of 101 season points a day. This time we're on the mage with only 7 players. I end up getting 78 might for the kill, where 38 of it is from the bonuses. So the base might for this mage is 40. 40 multiplied by 7 makes for 280, and 280 divided by 101 is 2.77. So once again, about 2.8 base might by the maximum amount of daily season points this territory makes for. So the formula simply is maximum daily season point times 2.8 divided by the amount of players in a party, and this is per mage, where there can be 4 mages per territory. So Siphoning Mages is a pretty good activity overall, where you get a good chunk of might and also season points for your guild and some fame, since the guilds that own the territories may decide to defend them when they are under attack. You can also get some PvP content from it, which is why you typically want to do this content in proper groups, but you can also form smaller parties to specifically kill the mages ASAP. Crystal spiders are always worth killing whenever you spot them in a zone. They make for fame, season points, quite a bit of loot, and even a good amount of might. And for the amount of rewards the crystal spider makes for, it takes very little time to kill them. You can kill these spiders on your own if you have the right build for it, but more often than not you'll see groups of players on this objective. And once the crystal spider is engaged, it will start moving on the map, which indicates there are players on it. So if you are on your own, it is very risky to do. Another reason why you're much better off killing crystal spiders in a group is because there are a minimum amount of devices when it comes to the might gained from this objective. To get the maximum might value out of a crystal spider, you want to kill it with at least 3 players. So even if you solo one, you will only get a third of the maximum value. The might value of a crystal spider depends on the quality of the zone it's in. The higher the quality of the zone, the higher the might pool of a spider. Once again, the maximum values are for 3 players. If you go with more than that, you'll split the total pool over the amount of players you have. And if you solo or duo them, you will only get a portion of the full value. After the base numbers, you'll get additional might based on your guild's bracket, and then another 50% if you have a premium subscription. I would say crystal spiders are something you want to kill as you spot them. I personally wouldn't go hunting for them specifically because the moment they are up, typically whoever is in the zone will make an active effort to kill them right away. I would also recommend killing these spiders with at least 3 players, not only to get the maximum amount of might, but also for safety purposes. When it comes to Hellgates, the amount of might you get is a fixed number based on the type of Hellgate you do. In the case of 2v2 Hellgates, the base number is 538. So since you will be doing this content with 2 players, you'll both get 269 base might per player if you win. After this, your guild's bonus is added to that number, and finally another 50% over the total amount if you have a premium subscription active. Keep in mind, might is only given in lethal content, so if you do non-lethal Hellgates, you won't get any might. As for 5v5 Hellgates, the base might for this content is 2081, and since you are doing this with a total of 5 players, each one of you will get 416 base might. Once again, the bonus of your guild's bracket is added after, and over the total you will get an additional 50% if you have premium. And finally, the biggest Hellgates, the 10v10s, which make for a base might of 6071, which would be 607 base might for every player in your team. And just like the other 2 Hellgates, you'll get more might based on your guild's bracket and an additional 50% over the total if you have premium running. So the bigger the size of the Hellgate, the more might the individual player receives, with 10v10s making for the highest amount, where the base might for each player is 607. So if you are in a crystal tier guild and you have premium running, you'll get 1366 might for winning a Hellgate, which is the maximum amount of might you can get for doing this content. So there is quite some might to be gained within the Hellgates. The Hellgates already make for amazing fame, loot and PvP, and with the addition of such might values, the content has become even more appealing. Given you have to win your matches to receive the various rewards, there is a real difficulty to it, especially since many Hellgate players follow strict meta builds and comps when doing this content. One of the new features that brought back life to the open world are the treasure chests, and not only do they come in 3 different sizes, they also come in 4 different rarities. The different sizes have different base might values, and depending on the rarity of the chest, those values change once again. A small chest that's legendary makes for 3000 more might than a small chest that's common, and that's only the base value. Depending on your guild's bracket and whether you have premium active, you will get even more might from this chest. When it comes to small chests, there isn't a minimum amount of devices, so even when you're on your own, you will get the full might value from a small chest. And if you're in a party, that value will simply be split over the amount of players in it. When it comes to chests and being in a party, you will get your share as long as you are in the same zone, so you don't have to be near the chest whatsoever. Small chests are often contested by solo players or small groups, but if bigger groups happen to be in that zone, they will most likely go for it, as well as it makes for free loot and might. On that note, small chests have a 5-minute timer and can only be seen by players within that zone. As for medium chests, these can already be seen from 1 zone over. The timer of medium chests is 20 minutes, which gives anyone that spotted them enough time to form a group and prepare the contest. Just like small chests, the amount of base might from medium chests depends on the rarity, after which your guild bracket and premium will multiply it once again. Unlike small chests, medium chests do have a minimum amount of devices, which is 3 players. So to get the maximum value out of a medium chest, you need to have at least 3 players in your party. If you are solo or duo, you will only get a portion of the maximum value, and a party bigger than 3 will simply mean the maximum value will be split over more players. Then we have the biggest chests, the large chests, which have a minimum divisor of 10. So to get the maximum value out of the large chests, you want to have at least 10 players in your party, which will most likely be necessary anyway, because large chests tend to have a ton of items in them and they are very contested. These chests can be seen 2 zones over already and have a prep time of 40 minutes. If anywhere, large chests is where you can definitely expect PvP battles to break out, as they make for big numbers of might and a ton of loot. Chests in general are a great form of content with huge rewards to them, so naturally they will be contested by other players as well, which makes this content an unreliable source of might, because not only is the spawn of chests random, so is their rarity and your rate of success in opening them. Nonetheless, when you are roaming and you see chests on a low timer, it's definitely worth checking them out. Hideout power cores is another new feature that added to the liveliness of the open world in Albion Online. Guilds first have to capture and then drag these cores to their hideouts to increase the hideout's power level. As the power levels of the hideouts increase, so do the bonuses such as crafting and also the fame buff if you have a specific hideout set as home. Beyond the hideout rewards these cores make for, they also provide might and favor. They come in 4 different rarities and each one of them has a different amount of minimum devices and base value of might. Starting with the lowest ones, we're looking at the green cores, which have a minimum divisor of 3. So to get the maximum value of might out of this one, you want to have at least 3 guild members in your party. The base might for the green core is 8122, meaning every player gets a base amount of 2707. After this you get a bonus based on your guild's bracket, and over the total another 50% if you have premium running. If you turn in a green core with more players than 3, the base might will simply be split over all the party members equally. The blue core makes for a base might of 18,951 and has a minimum divisor of 5. If you manage to capture one of these, you want to have at least 5 guild members in your party. If you turn it in with 5 players, each player will get a base amount of 3,790 might, followed by the bonus of your guild's bracket and premium. The purple core, just like the blue core, also makes for a minimum divisor of 5 and has a base might of 26,532. So each lucky guild member in your party will receive 5,306 base might from this core, followed by your guild's bracket bonus and premium after. As for the highest tier core, we're looking at the legendary one, which has a base of 74,288 might. The minimum divisors for this one is 10, so if you turn it in with a group of 10 guild members, each one of you will get 7,429 base might, followed by guild bracket and premium bonuses. But of course, the higher the rarity of a core, the more it will be contested, and it's very likely you'll need more than 10 people for a legendary core. So if you go with a group of 20, the base might of 74,288 will simply be split over 20 people instead of 10. Cores are very important objectives that make for huge amounts of might for every guild member involved. Especially those of higher rarities will be contested, so when you go for them, I recommend you have a strong party with you that's ready for the PvP that will most likely await you. As for the most rewarding content when it comes to might, we're looking at the territory energy crystals, or vortices as players tend to call them. Just like the power cores, these also come in 4 rarities. Once these unlock, you can capture them and drag them to your territory to increase the energy level. As the levels of a territory increase, so does everything else. The Sentry Mage, the Siphoning Mages and the Gods become much stronger with every level, and your guild gets more season points. The lowest Vortex is the green one, which has a base might of 20,774 and a minimum amount of devices of 5. So every guild member in your party will get a base might of 4,155 for turning in a green Vortex. This number is of course multiplied by your guild's bracket and then once again by your premium subscription. The blue Vortex, just like the green Vortex, has a minimum divisor of 5 players with a base of 29,083 might. This makes for 5,817 base might per player if you turn it in with a party of 5. As for the purple Vortex, this one has a base might value of 81,433 with a minimum amount of 10 devices, meaning each guild member in your party will get 8,143 base might before any bonuses if you turn it in with 10 players. If you turn it in with less, you still get 8,143 per player as your base, and if you turn it in with more players, the total pool is split equally. And then we have the biggest source of might within the game, which is the legendary Vortex. This one has a minimum divisor of 20, so you need to have a full rate to get the maximum value from it. As for the amount of base might it makes for, we're looking at a value of 228,012. So the base might for each player when it comes to a legendary Vortex is 11,401. This base value first increases based on your guild's bracket, and then it gets multiplied by your premium subscription. So if you are in a guild that's in the highest bracket, which is Crystal, and you have premium running, you will get 25,651 might for turning in a legendary Vortex, and so will all the other 19 guild members in your party. As you can figure, the energy crystals are very contested, not only because of the huge amounts of might they make for, but for their purposes as well. So if you are in a guild that owns a territory, it's very worth going for them, as it will add immense value to your guild and to your members. Personally, I think the most important milestone by far is the 430k mark, where you get the Eldest Knight's Vow. This item makes for a buff that increases your combat and gathering fame by 10% for a total of 90 days. This just has immense value for any active player. I honestly didn't think I would reach this milestone at the start of the season, but after doing a bunch of fortresses, cores and treasure chests with our guild, I simply reached it in no time. Keep in mind, a season is 90 days, so you aren't in a rush to complete your challenges. To hit the 430k mark over 90 days, you will need to gain about 5k might per day. That can be done in 1 to 2 hours of doing solo PvE in the Outlands, a single green Vortex if you are in a guild that's iron or higher, or a handful of wins in 10v10 Hellgates, and if you get something big such as a legendary Vortex that already covers multiple days at once. I think the second important milestone is 1 million for the Crystal Battle Mount. To reach this one, you definitely want to be in a well-functioning guild, as you need about 11k might per day. This battle mount is simply a big jump in value compared to the gold one. And the third important milestone would be 1.5 million for the highest tier avatar. It's a vanity that's unique to this specific season, so you only have one chance to get it. You will need close to 17k might per day to reach this milestone, so those legendary cores and fortresses become that much more important. If anything, this guide shows that being in a qualitative guild is very important. The bigger objectives simply can't be done without a guild. Your guild of course also has to own a territory and hideout to turn in the objectives. And even if your guild meets all those criteria, you have to be successful in your contests. Aside from completing these objectives, the guild bracket also adds immense value to your progress. Being guildless or being in a guild that's silver already makes for a difference of 30% more might. Crystal makes for the highest of 50%, which is an enormous bonus. So if you want to take the might grind seriously and reach all the milestones, you should put some thought into the type of guild you join. Aside from all the might and rewards, all of these new features just make for a ton of fun. And before you know, you'll have reached all the milestones you've wanted to by simply playing the game with your fellow members. Aside from the Conqueror's challenge making for a ton of rewards through the might grind, this new system simply provides even more incentive to do various content and gives many guilds new reasons to push to higher levels. If you found this guide helpful, please give it a like, and if you haven't yet, feel free to subscribe. Have a wonderful journey, and I'll see you next time.
Yeah. Nice one. That good enough? Everyone happy with it?
Cell is like right in the middle.
Well, you can zoom in, Levy. Zoom in, that's how off.
Do I channel?
Yeah, you can channel, Yeah. He's gonna do a video, like walking in.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, everyone just do a slash wave, yeah. Don't have anything selected, you just do a wave.
A bit
or
zoomed
like, is
in.
it,
But wave
slash
Levy.
bow is cool. Slash bow is cooler. Don't shadow yet. No, my role play.
Okay, I'll go downstairs. RP guilds, dude.
Listen. Select Levy. Wait. Select Levy on the party. Yeah, everyone has Levy selected. Pre-type /bow. Yeah, and we're gonna test. Like Levy, walk to the tower. Levy, go to the tower. We're just gonna do a test run.
Yeah, you guys still need people?
No, we got 20. Alright, everyone do /bow right now.
Bow.
You gotta bow as he's walking by
like
you.
Bow, like this. I do
Yeah,
one more.
Oro is right.
You gotta
right.
bow as he's walking by you.
Alright, just pre-type it. Just pre-type it.
3, 2, 1, bow. That's it.
There you go.
Easy engage.
Binky, bow to Levy so you get paid on the next video. Please.
Yeah, select Binky when you're doing it.
Okay, I'm gonna channel this time, yeah?
Oh, yeah, everyone
Levy,
heavy
Levy.
pre-type. Let's go. Let's go.
No.
I'm gonna like when he starts I'll go count to 3, 2, 1 and we're gonna do it. Yeah? So 3, 2, 1, go. There you go. Easy roleplay.
Albion
That's gonna be a
Online.
great video.